Board of Public Works and Safety meeting to order. And we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Chief Breton.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of minutes. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Public comment?
Nothing yet.
Nothing here. Clerk Treasurer, claims approval.
Okay, we've got civil city payroll in the amount of $503,862.55.
I move we approve the civil city payroll.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Civil city claims in the amount of $638,631.02.
I move we approve the civil city claims.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Sewage claims in the amount of $279,246.86.
I move we approve the sewage claims.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Water claims in the amount of $125,682.23.
I move we approve the water claims.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
And then just a few other things. I did want to ask the Board of Works to approve necessary claims to be paid from the 2023 budget through the end of the year, and we'll present it on the first docket in 2024.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
So just
It's something we do every year.
preparing, you can pay the bills.
We just want to use up, if anybody has, NIPSCO bills or phone bills or anything like that, we want to use up 2023 money. Yes, yeah.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
I also wanted to ask the board to, we did not get the Farmed and Forged payment from the UEA yet. We invoiced them. We have not received the payment. Once we receive the payment, which should be before the end of the year, we wanted to ask the board to then be allowed to make the payment to Farmed and Forged, the first payment.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Is that for the 23 year or the 24 year?
24 year.
24.
Okay.
Part of the new contract for the next 2 years, so. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
And then lastly, from us, and I don't know if Andrea is here.
No,
She is
she's
not.
not.
Okay. This is a this FedLogic invoice is is something that Andrea talked about with the GIS team. FedLogic is, it says it's an independent resource to help navigate and maximize federal and state benefits. The invoice is $9,900 for the year, and we would take it from employee benefits. It's a federal benefits advocacy. I don't know how many questions I can answer, but we wanted to get the payment on the docket here, or paid before the end of the year.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Will more than pay for itself from this night.
I'm just wondering if it was, did we need to approve this? I mean, did we approve, I wondered if we approved it before.
I'm not-
or
I
if
don't
we're
know.
Yeah, we
basically
just need to
approving it now.
approve the payment,
and
not
then
the plan.
Okay.
Further discussion?
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. And then the Schneider invoice, I'm going to defer to Nick Minnick here.
Nick Minnick.
Yeah, when we had the, that delayed Board of Works meeting, there was some shifts in pay-ups, and we actually missed a pay application. So we wanted to bring that up and get that straightened out so we could get current with everything on Schneider. So pay application number 5 is actually our September invoice, and that's $559,137.60. And then our current one is pay application number 7, which is $133,252.59. Would recommend payment of both of these. This, because we had that little shift in everything, this will get us current and everything stays on track, and we don't have to worry about not getting things paid on time.
And the only thing left is really the air conditioning, HVAC.
Yeah, that's the remaining big ticket item that.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
How close are we to being done then? Like what percentage? I know you said HVAC and,
Yeah,
sorry,
that's the big one.
that's
So
the big one. When is
that's
that, is that slated for?
last time I checked, we were at 70-some% done, but that's a large item. And I think everything's on schedule. It's going to be, I'd say January, probably after basketball timeframe. So
These
Awesome.
invoices that's for work completed.
we're completed, correct.
Motion to approve.
We are.
Did
We already have
Got a
one.
motion and a
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Clerk Treasurer Barthune. To the point, department heads. Craig Phillips.
Good morning, Mayor, members of the board. Just very briefly, a lot of work is going on with regard to several opportunities for grants, including the READY grant, which is due in January, focused on housing needs for the city, in addition to a couple of other grants that we have focused on housing needs for the city. Aside from that, ongoing work with regard to some of the bid offerings and projects related to housing for the city, a lot of effort and focus on that. And then I just have an item later on in the agenda with regard to this. I've been talking about the negotiations for the comprehensive plan. We have that contract before you today, so that's all I have today.
And not just housing, but housing here in the near downtown.
Near downtown,
That really focuses
yep.
on the census tract with the triangle, low income. We've seen what happens with the slumlords and getting control of that, and that will be our priority and focus, along with hopefully the Health Foundation of
Foundation.
LaPorte.
Yep. Thank you.
Jerry Jackson, wastewater.
Our plant crew started work on rebuilding our digester hot water boiler that heats the process. We did number one earlier last year during the winter, and we're starting number two. We'll have a welder and a certified boiler guy working on the boiler proper. We rebuild the heat exchanger part. So that's a pretty big project for the crew this winter. Then we got a grant to measure, this was kind of interesting, drug residuals in wastewater. So we'll have some quantitative measures of what is coming down the pipe over time and should be able to compare it to other cities, it'll be really interesting. I got no numbers or anything yet, but we should have some. There's an effort to survey wastewater plants, and we got involved. So
When will that, you think, will be completed? We'll have data like that?
we'll start having data in January.
Oh, wow.
Is that illicit drugs? Is
Yes.
it legal drugs? Is it
It's illicit drugs.
just okay?
Yeah, and it's a lot of that passes through you, and there's also byproducts they measure, so they can back figure and get a estimate. Should be quite interesting. It's been done in other cities.
And I'm a believer after Jerry was able to test for COVID in wastewater during our COVID spikes a couple years ago, and that was amazing data.
It's just a good general measure, it doesn't, it's not specific in any one, it's just a general measure for the city as a whole, a way to know how you're doing.
I wonder if that helps any other not-for-profits like Drug Task Force or others go for grants based on like where we would fall in ranges compared to other cities or what the,
Might well, I had intended to send the information out to those sort of folks, so,
yeah.
yeah.
Not to go off on a tangent here, but is there anything in terms of like forever chemicals testing in wastewater?
We have done some, yeah, and there are forever chemicals, the PFAS, in our wastewater influent, in our solids. It's there, because there's a whole variety of sources that come down the pipe to us that we are not in control of. It's a big unknown hanging out there. The biggest unknown for us is probably what do you do with your solids, because it tends to concentrate in the solids, and can you use that as fertilizer anymore? State of Indiana hasn't decided. If they decide you can't use it as fertilizer, Maine did that, the state of Maine, then you can landfill it, but that's not a very good solution either, because some of that leaches out of the PFAS leaches out of the landfill and winds up in wastewater anyways. So I'm not sure what the right answer there is. Treatment is very, very expensive. I know I can't speak for Tim, but I know he's done some testing of the drinking water, and the drinking water is good. So.
We'll look forward to that data. Nick Minnick, Engineering.
No report.
Nick Otis, Legal.
Nothing. Looking forward to the Salvation Army bell ringing though this week.
Oh, yeah.
I heard Roscoe's bringing a guitar.
Let the beatdown continue with Michigan City and LaPorte next week, or tomorrow, I mean. Jeff Batchelor, Streets and Code.
Yeah, we're finishing up with the leaf pickup this week. We're also going to take him to work on a couple sidewalks and get him as a couple older people, and just to level it off so they can get up into their driveway. And then also for people, we do not have the dumpster out no more. So do not throw your garbage, your debris out in front of your house. That's your responsibility until it comes back. So we call waste management, call whoever you're going to take and do. But if it's out in front of it, you will get a thing from code enforcement that you need to fix it.
Perfect.
Two quick questions. When does the dumpster come back?
It just depends on the weather.
Oh, okay.
If we get good weather, like last year, it came back in February. It just depends, as long as the snow's away,
Okay.
then hopefully I can get some more money, because we run short money this year, and we got some more. But hopefully it goes usually from right around the end of March all the way to the end of October.
Okay. And then with the leaf pickup, if someone, with some of the crazy weather we've had, if there's still piles, can someone call for a pickup, or is it only during the cycles?
No, they can call. I mean, we'll
okay.
still take and try to pick it up and that
Okay.
stuff. Not a problem.
So this is sad news for us and exciting news for Chief. As you see, Chief has announced his retirement and stepping down, and I have great loyalty for what he's done. And this is only the beginning of his honors that will be coming. But we want to thank Chief for his 30 years of service, and we're so thankful for all that he has done. And our goal is to bring tears to his eyes in the public, as he wants to avoid that. But with that, Chief Breton.
I have enough to discuss here later, but we are having our Christmas party for our officers. So any department heads, board members want to show up on Thursday at 12:30, Cafe Trilogy. It promises to be a good meal, and I want to know what that face was on your phone that came up, Jess. It was kind of spooky.
My son.
We'll move forward to Chief Snyder now.
Yeah, I'll take it back a step here. Just to announce that Dr. James Edwards, was elected to another 4-year term on the Fire Merit Commission by the firefighters.
Thank you, Doc. Mark Schreiber, Park and Rec, and Ice Rink Manager.
Yeah, probably the first should be the first one listed. Good morning, Merry Christmas. First of all, I just want to hit on some of the highlights, and I'll go very briefly on this. The Civics hosted about a half dozen Christmas events already, but they have the Christmas Wizards coming in Friday, which is a tribute to the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, so tickets are on sale for that. If people still want to get a little more Christmas spirit. And then, of course, after the new year, we have the LaPorte Invitational coming back for its third year, January 4th through 6th. 11 elite teams, dozens of college recruits, just some great action. So tickets are also on sale for that. Mayor mentioned the downtown ice rink. Would encourage everybody to come down, visit with their families over winter break. We will have daily hours over winter break rather than just the weekends, with the exception, obviously, of Christmas and New Year's Day. I'm going to try to be to the point, but the mayor contacted me last night, said there was a concern expressed last night about our boat docks and boat dock fees. So I just wanted to touch real base on this quickly and give some information on the city's role as far as boat docks go. We have two concessionaires in place, Huber on South Pine, Fay on Stone. Any other boat docks are all privately owned completely. We did both contracts just in 2021. Fay's was a new contract. Huber's was a restructuring of a previous contract. Fay has a 10-year deal with us on Stone. Received 10% of his docking fees, and I believe the docking next year will be $1,700. Huber, his contract is on a rollover. It's been in place for a number of years. Again, we get 10% of the docking fees. We also get 10% of the launching fees there. And I believe he's going to be charging $1,600 for a dock next year, $10 for in-state to launch, $16 for out-of-state to launch. So I'll try to address the concerns that were mentioned last night. First, the rates. I mean, that's basically where the market is for boat docks. The pandemic saw a 13-year high in boat sales. Many of those were first-time boat owners, meaning they weren't trading in a boat for another boat, they were buying a brand-new boat. So that obviously elevated the need for, or the demand for, docks. So docks anywhere are in high demand. There are a lot of people who have boats that simply can't find them. They are very rare to be able to find anymore, so obviously that just drives the price up by the market. And the market isn't just dictated by these two vendors, it's dictated by the other vendors around the lake. They may not all charge exactly the same, but that's where things have gotten. And to this point, the park board has allowed to see the fair market price be charged for them. I know the math that was done last night involved each marina being 200 slips. Neither of these have 200. Matter of fact, Huber's has about 84. Fay has 30. We do limit Fay to 30. The other is limited by the DNR. Combined, perhaps Huber's with their north and south annex probably have 150 to 160. But again, just looking at the math, just to be realistic, that's probably not quite accurate. I believe the statement was also made that all of the profits being made by these concessionaires are off of the back of locals. I think that's probably hard to say exactly. I did try to call the marinas this morning to get a breakdown of how many slips are rented to out of state or out of area. Certainly, I would be who actually live within the city. But as far as what that percentage is, I think to say that those are strictly all local people who have docks, out-of-town people strictly launch, I don't think that's quite accurate. As far as investment in the infrastructure, the reason why Fay has a 10-year contract is because they put in all new docking. And I first and foremost say they did a fabulous job with that. I know people get frustrated. Just maybe 3-4 years ago, they were paying $500 for a slip when the Millers ran it, and the Millers did a tremendous job. That was a family enterprise for, 4 or 5 decades. But when they retired, we had to bring in a new vendor, and obviously we also had to replace the old wood docks there. And Ed did a great job on it, but the park board specifically gave him a 10-year contract so he could get a return on investment because he's invested heavily in there. Huber's equally, and again, I don't need to defend Terry or Corey, but they have made investments there as well as far as the boathouse, the gas lines, the gas tanks, restrooms, all of the things that they've put in there. And they are now actively having a conversation with us about how do we improve the parking situation there. So, that will certainly be something that we turn back and talk to the concessionaires of, you are making a profit here. Where can we make improvements to our parking situation? So, again, the gentleman did not approach the park department about this. I don't know specifically of what his concerns are. Wasn't quite clear last night what he wanted to hear, but I at least wanted to give some information so everybody knows where we stand on it. So, again, those are concessionaire contracts that are controlled by the park board.
Questions for Mr. Schreiber? Thank you.
Did I cover it?
Yes. Jess Bruder, Communications.
Good morning, Board. Merry Christmas. I just wanted to note that we only have a few more opportunities for holiday events, like Mark kind of already alluded to. He already mentioned the Christmas Wizards this Friday night at the Civic, but also wanted to point out there's 2 more chances to visit with Santa at Plaza 618. Those are tomorrow at 4:30 to 6:30 and Saturday 11 to 1. That's all I got.
Thank you. Beth West, Transport. New business, Board of Works appointment to Fire Merit Board. And by the way, department heads that do not have business before the board, please enjoy your day. So I have Annette Leffler.
I didn't know if I needed to come up or not. Previously, the board has one appointment to this board, and you had appointed Ian Eldridge to fulfill an appointment that was left by a resignation. And I reached out to to Chief, and he said that Mr. Eldridge had really enjoyed his time on the board and was a very active member and is willing to continue to serve. So that's all I really have about it. He has to be a Republican. That is one of we have 3 boards that have very specific rules about equaling out the board between Republicans and Democrats. So he is your appointment, and he is a Republican.
Motion to approve Ian Eldridge as the Republican to continue his term.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, and I think we are fortunate to have 2 young people, Allison Zoll and Ian Eldridge, on that board, so that's a great thing. Discussion?
Absolutely. No, thank you to them for their service.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
I also have a service agreement here with New Age Telecom. The City Hall has a surveillance system in place right now, and I should have found out how old it is. I'm not certain. Nick, do you have I would say.
It's about the cameras.
Yeah,
Three.
I was going to guess 5, but yeah, 3 to 5 years old. And
Time flies.
unfortunately, it is already out of date, and we are in need of a new system, new cameras. We may not need all new monitors, that's up for debate, but we do need new cameras. We had 3 incidents this year alone that the police were unable to use our surveillance from the outside on these incidents because it just isn't clear. They're not able to zoom in. So we have a service that just isn't working the way it's supposed to work. And so this is a contract for an all-new system from New Age Telecom in the amount of $28,162. And I'm just asking to be able to sign this contract, and I've encumbered part of the money for it for next year.
We encumbered all of it last night.
Oh, we encumbered all of it?
Part of it
Okay.
will come from the mayor's budget, part of it is coming from the CCD fund, so it's all covered.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, and I think it only takes one time. And I think, Chief, you'll support that. It only takes one time. That's something, and we know in this day and age, it's really important to have security that you can see.
We've spent
Absolutely.
hours trying to review that
And I
current
would add
system,
that
and it's,
I asked Assistant Chief to come and help me look this over, because I wanted to be certain that I was getting something that was compatible to the police needs. And so Assistant Chief was with me through this process and helped develop this contract.
So I'm assuming like the MP is like a megapixel. I mean, this looks like this will get us
We're
to the
asking
point
the
of
wrong
like,
girl.
but it'll be like, this will be crisp enough.
Yes.
That, okay. So to ease, these issues, right? Okay.
Well, and save time. I mean, it sounds like, based on you saying, Chief, you've spent hours trying to look through what we have already. This will just save a lot of man-hours as well.
we found dead spots, and
And we would have
Quite a
2
few.
additional cameras installed. Actually, one of them would be here, so that we could see, we have a back entrance, and there's nothing on that back entrance. And so the camera that would be here, anybody who entered from there, we would see them when they round that wall, and also there's one at the top of the staircase that you can see, but it's not very well done, so.
Fantastic.
I'm not sure who all deserves credit, but when I came on in 2017, you could come in this building, there was really no security cameras, and you could get downstairs, upstairs, we had some bad interactions for employees with individuals in the public who were looking to make trouble, and we've largely eliminated that. And I think Annette still gets to deal sometimes with, she's the front line of dealing with it, but there's a lot more security here, which is very important.
And Annette has really taken the time. It's not easy to deal with when you're not in this industry, but she cares about City Hall. So, further comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes.
Thank you so much. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
I can take the lease renewal. We have several for leases that are up for renewal, 2 in code enforcement and 2 in engineering. So LaPorte Chrysler reached out. They are willing to this year work within our 2024 budget, and then we would revisit this next year as cost of everything has gone up, but they are willing to renew leases for new 4 new Dodge Hornets it's for all of 2024, but we need to rewrite it in September. So I'm asking the board for approval for the 4 existing leases, to renew the 4 existing leases, 2 for code, 2 for engineering. It is in their budget. Asking the board for approval for the 1-year lease.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, engineering and code enforcement, you're comfortable?
Is that mileage enough? The
one I
15,000?
Yeah.
That's, okay.
Got your arms crossed. I didn't know if you're doing this begrudgingly.
No, not at all.
How long is the lease term? It doesn't state.
This is a 1-year, this is 1 year,
1
because we have to revisit it for the 2025 budget year.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Transfer of parcel to the redevelopment commission.
Thank you. This is the Don George transfer, I believe.
Yes.
And the city has, where's Craig at? Craig, we bid this 3 times?
We have bid this property 3 separate times.
Yep.
And rejected bids all 3 times. And then, I'm sorry, 2 times, and then the most recent we accepted, but the deal fell through. So we have a full price offer on the property, and
The redevelopment commission has a little more latitude in how it negotiates than the city does. We've done this a couple times, the city has, where the redevelopment commission has broader latitude to do direct negotiations, and I think that's the goal here. Obviously, it's an important parcel for the city and on a major thoroughfare, and Mayor, it's certainly your call, but you want to make sure you do it right? So the end user's a good fit for the area.
Yes, and I think this is a real opportunity. We said we wanted to clear that area 4 years ago, and we now, I think, are coming to the close of something very positive in that area, so.
And the prospective developer has agreed to maintain the access that we've asked them to maintain as far as the lake, access for the public, and some of the other commitments that we've asked for in the future with that property.
Do I have a motion?
So you're voting on the transfer to the redevelopment commission, not to a third party, yeah.
Right.
Do I have a second?
But we're getting full price, second, sorry.
Well,
Did you say we were? getting
ultimately, an offer has
for it,
been
or-
made, right, that they have made the offer that I think is consistent with the appraisals, is that
Correct.
correct? Yeah.
So in terms of making this transfer to the redevelopment commission, knowing that it will then go to a developer, so to what extent does this affect the sort of the city's ability to ensure that the developer follows the wishes of the city?
Yeah, so the redevelopment commission, which obviously is a board of the city, will oversee that, right? So redevelopment commission has been involved in some of the more complex negotiations, particularly with Newport Landing, for example, right, of making sure that the developers do what they say they're going to do.
So the development agreement associated with the sale of the property will dictate all those terms.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fantastic. Sounds great.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Chief Breton.
I have a resignation letter for Captain Julie Smith after 35 years with the city of LaPorte. Julie signed up for the drop 3 years ago, and that's her end date will be January 24th. Julie's held almost every position in this department. The knowledge and the guidance she gives these young officers has been amazing. Big shoes to fill when she leaves.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. I would like just to say to 35 years of service, I believe, I'll say at least twice, if not several times, has stepped into the leadership role of chief when needed. And her commitment to LaPorte is well noted, and we want to thank her for her service.
And I guess the piggyback on that, also the permission for the merit commission to look for a replacement by that date.
So moved.
Second.
So we do have an amended motion.
Sure.
What about for rank? Do we have to,
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, there'll be several promotions because of that.
so replacement and promotions as well upon the acceptance of, or upon the formal resignation of Julie?
So do I have an amended motion to include the resignation, the hiring of somebody new, and the promotion of
Promotion would be the
officers?
25th of January.
I don't know who made that motion, Courtney, me or Mark?
You did.
I did.
So would you like to
I'd
amend?
like to amend, thank you.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
I'm going to ask that the professional service agreement be tabled. We're still going back and forth with Utility, who's been fantastic to work with, but just a little history on this. We applied for a grant through the Indiana Criminal Justice Institute for just under $355,000 for new body cams. Also be 2 LPR systems for squad cars. And this started out about $460,000, and with negotiations back and forth, we're down to $355,000. We put in for the grant. We were accepted, but we're still working out the details with the criminal justice and Utility. Utility has since offered us the cameras will trigger if an officer pulls his gun. They've included that in there. This has been an outstanding company, but in 2 weeks, I'll have everything, all the Ts crossed and the Is dotted. We'll have it ready for you.
So the grant will cover this.
100%.
Nice.
Yes.
Well done.
Motion to table?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Jerry Jackson.
I've got pay request number 7, contract 2A, that's the piping, water main and storm sewer for the letters and numbers project. Payment is due in the amount of $221,422.87. That's 221,422.87. That takes us to 70% for that contract. I recommend approval.
Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
And I've got pay request number 7 for contract 2B. That's the street portion of that job. Payment due is $263,643.05, 263,643.05. That brings us to 55%. There's some issues with the surface paving that went on. This payment does not include that surface, and we're working up a letter to Reith Riley to get that surface corrected in the spring. Additionally, we'll temporary the manhole covers. If you've been down I Street, you've seen the manhole covers are low. We'll put temporary steel riser rings on them to get us through the winter before they come back and fix the asphalt.
Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, and I do appreciate that Mr. Minnick and Mr. Jackson discussed the Reith Riley paving. It needs to be redone, which it will be in the spring. Have they
What was the-
acknowledged that?
Yeah, I was curious what the issue was with that on I Street.
I think if you drive, you'll see it. I mean,
No, I
there's-
understand, but like, like,
Is at the end of the season, I think they just had some issues with paving that day. I mean, it's not normal of what we've been seeing out of their crews. I mean, it felt a lot like they did more handwork, meaning they just weren't getting the paver to kind of run as smoothly as they wanted. Day after I talked to them, they went and checked it out. HRP got involved because HRP is the prime. Kind of just working through things. The one thing, spring, but it'll likely be in coordination with the other streets that we're working on there. So, yeah, it's just unfortunate. It's not what we expect on a new street at all, and they know that. So.
and appreciate the high standards we've set, and when they don't meet it, not, what you see here is an automatic approval of everything. So if the standard's not met, it will be redone.
I appreciate you bringing up the manhole covers, because as I hit the boom, boom, like a couple
they're
times, I'm like,
bad.
what's going on here?
Yeah,
So
they're
thanks
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Chief Snyder.
Thank you, Mayor. I have submitted a quote to the board for consideration for approval. This quote is dealing with our breathing air systems within the department. It's what the machines that fill our SCBA's, which is the air that the firefighters wear into fires and dangerous situations. So a couple of things, background on this. The current system that we have in place right now is 24 years old. We have continued to maintain it well, but unfortunately, it still passes all inspections, but unfortunately, it is no longer able to even provide parts for routine maintenance as well as repairs that are happening with the machine. So that's why we're looking for a new one. You'll notice too that I've only submitted one quote under the company of ProAir Midwest, and the brand or the manufacturer of the breathing air system is Mako. The reason I'm looking for only Mako is because there are certain components of our current system that are still usable, which is Mako. It served us well over the 24 years. So if we were to go look for an entirely new system, we'd be looking at a much higher priced system. ProAir Midwest is the dealer for our region. Mako is one of those companies, a lot of fire equipment companies do. They are specific to an area. They don't allow for overlap of dealers. So that, but we've, again, over the past 24 years dealt with ProAir Midwest and had nothing but luck of good response and good follow-up with our machines. So I'm asking, it's a total of $48,000 for the components that do need to be replaced, that are basically the mechanical components. And I'm asking for your approval to let me move forward with this quote.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, and I would like to say that Chief Snyder gladly showed me the current situation and the struggles that are there now, and it's time for an upgrade.
So is this, so would these units then be at, obviously they can only be at one station, right? And then you
Yeah.
just kind of supply to all stations?
Yes,
Okay.
currently, it's currently located at Station 1. The replacement items would go into Station 1. Two of our frontline engines right now have air systems on them, which this system fills the tanks on the trucks so that we have readily air available just to fill our tanks out on scene. If we get into a situation like we had, on Brighton Street, there is ample air to get us started at least for a day's worth of firefighting if we need, so.
And then budget-wise, does this come out of?
Lit. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Jeff Batchelor, rumble strips.
Yeah, me and Mike got a call over at Riley School, and it was from the crossing guard where the kids were, almost got hit 2 or 3 times crossing the road. People aren't paying attention to the kids, they're not paying attention to anything down there. So just asking, on your paperwork there in front of you, the state law, the cross where we put a yield sign up on both sides, we put the rumble strips down, and that'd be just for, hopefully forever, but just to get through the 30 days until we have the next traffic commission, and then we can take it in front of the traffic commission. But that way we can get it started. Talk to the school is gonna put up a yellow light, flashing yellow light, so that, that'll be there, but that's not gonna be until the spring.
So are people coming, what is that, west or east?
Either way, it doesn't
Either
matter
way,
which
they're
way.
at that stoplight or stop sign?
There's nothing, it's past the stop sign, from the stop sign up to Pine Lake Avenue. They just fly up and down the road. They're not paying attention to the kids. She said that she's had to pull kids back off the road a couple times so they didn't get hit.
Scary.
So, and we're worried too. We don't want nobody to get hit or anything like that.
Absolutely
I
not.
think Ms. Romine can probably mention if rumble strips work as Beechwood.
These are different types of
These
rumbles.
these are different types.
Are
These are
they?
gonna be just
Oh,
closer.
because those work.
Well, we'll actually be able to take and still remove snow with these.
Oh, that makes sense, especially this time
Yeah,
of
so
the
no,
year.
it's just like a tape that you put down, there'll be some rocks and that kind of stuff in it, so you can still feel it, and it'd be 2 or 3 layers of it, but that way we can get it out there and get it to the point that slow them down.
Well, then you said this is gonna go in front of Traffic Commission to see what maybe even a longer term or better fix will be, correct?
Yeah, this is
Other than
just,
the
this is short
flashing.
term, just to be able to get to it, to hopefully get the approval to keep that stuff up.
That's a shame because it's not like the school is hidden. You're right there with the kids and
And I mean, they back up into
Slow
the
it
street.
down.
I mean, it's not a good situation, and we'd much rather have this than have meeting where a child got hit or something like that.
Have they asked for any police assistance there? Because there's typically a officer at Kessling.
Right. When I worked day shift, I used to go there. I made a point in the mornings to stand there with the crossing guard, and that seemed to help. Sometimes it didn't, but the car was there.
That's what I was.
Try to address
yeah.
that again, but anybody that's driven through there knows it's a horrible problem. It has been for years.
What do you anticipate might be the permanent solution?
I think this, if we do this right, and the police get out there and are present during this situation, I think that should solve it.
And a flashing yellow, too.
Yeah. And I think you gotta give tickets, if they're not gonna follow, give the tickets and that stuff, once you do that, that seems to help. slow
Well, as
everything
we
down.
look at technology, and this is not a political debate, but I know the state legislature, who is opposed to red light type cameras, just did some work site safety cameras where they can automatic ticket on the highway. I've talked to Representative Pressel, testing in school zone areas, if they'd be willing to allow us the cameras because they automatically trigger a ticket for those that are speeding. And when you look at it, to me, it's not a political question, but it's, do you really have an officer need to sit there or on Pine Lake? Or if you had technology that could trigger a ticket, you would free up an officer to go do what I think are more important things out and about. But I know it brings out the politics when you talk about those type of ticket cameras. Chief, is that fair to say?
And what's so hard about this area is trying to get out and get them stopped because it's so congested. Where if you had a system like that, I mean, they do it out west everywhere, and it gets by. Sends them a ticket. Now you're not endangering anybody trying to get out there in your car as well.
I agree. I mean, it's like it's a relatively simple problem to understand. And so it's not, it's not something complicated where you need an officer to handle, to figure out what's going on. I mean, I do like the automated aspect of it because, again, it's a very simple way to enforce what's happening. And I think it won't take long before people understand and get the message that you have to follow the laws in these areas.
And
You think about it even during the day. I mean, we're talking loading and unloading time of kids, but they're out there in the playground in the nice weather and cars are going by. They're not that far off the roadway. It's a bad situation the whole school day.
And once an officer has somebody pulled over, how many cars are going by
Right.
that you can't stop? Because you have
Right.
one. And this,
Well, it
I just,
also creates a lot more congestion, too,
Right.
than just people trying to get around and through, and people that drop their kids off, and all of that.
slow it down, but I do think technology, there has to be an option that has to be allowed by the state legislature to let us look specific needs. I understand the big picture of the concern, but in school zones, it only takes one child to get hit. We've had tragedy already.
We don't want, yeah.
I
We don't
really
want it to
think-
come to that.
No. So,
How soon will these things, the yield signs and the rumble strip and,
We've actually ordered the signs already, we're just waiting for them to come in.
oh, fantastic. So hopefully when the kids come back to school after
Oh,
the
yeah,
new
it'll
year,
be up by
everything
then.
will be in
Yep.
place. And the school will be working on their flashing yellow. Maybe a flashing light too will, I don't know. It's unfortunate.
If there's a choice here, I think the stop within crosswalk versus the yield to within crosswalk. I don't know if there's a reason why we would go with one versus the other. I think the more emphatic, the better.
okay. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? So just as a separate note, you would not be opposed, or you would be supportive of speaking with the legislature about some of the technology?
Absolutely, especially if we're testing it in areas such as this where the good that can come from that is immense.
Just remember, though, this is a common sense approach, so that may not work well.
Yeah, for me, this particular issue falls right within the stop arm cameras on school buses. You can't have a police car following every bus everywhere. This is the same concept, right? It's keeping the kids safe when they're leaving sort of the school realm of responsibility. Like that's what this is all about. So I think it's the
officers
same
safe, because
situation.
even if there's an officer in a car out there, that doesn't mean, just like Chief said or Jeff said, that doesn't necessarily mean it's safe for that person
That's true.
either.
Yeah. How many officers get hit on stops? Maybe not on city streets as much, but
Right.
Yeah.
All in favor?
aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Craig Phillips.
All right, thank you. So we've been working on the consultant selection process as per the requirements of NDOT, which is a very regimented and step-by-step process. We received several submittals, and we're able to narrow those down ultimately to the highest scoring consultant. We've been in negotiations for a bit, working on some of the details that are required per NDOT. This is with regard to the comprehensive and transportation plan for the city. Just to give you some background, it's been a little while since the city has had its own comprehensive plan. I think in the mid-90s was the last time the city had its own. Since that time, in 2008, I believe it was, the county adopted the countywide land development plan, which for the cities, basically we fell within a region of that document, I think is the best way to put it. And so my argument has been, since that document was adopted, and having dealt with it both in LaPorte and previously in Michigan City, it has not served us well. It's definitely time for us to have our own comprehensive plan and transportation plan document. So we have put together a document. You have all the paperwork in front of you. There's two different steps involved in this process. One is the contract between us as the local public agency, or the LPA as it's referred to in NDOT speak. And then second, we will be bringing to you later on a contract between the city and NDOT, which lays out the responsibilities of both parties as we go through this process. I'll call your attention basically to the scope of the document, and page 24 of the attached scope in the paperwork that you received. Among other things that this document will cover is issues related to the future land use development needs of the city. So laying out where we want different types of development to occur. One of the most important elements under task 3.2 is transportation. I think we can all agree that we have some transportation issues in the city, particularly when it comes to truck routes, and but it also will cover other elements of transportation in our city. In addition to that, it will have an economic development element, a housing element, a quality of life element, infrastructure and utilities looking forward in the future with regard to those things, and then annexation and growth management. One of the other major benefits of having a comprehensive plan and transportation plan is that this document will provide some of the support necessary for us, and in some cases it's necessary to have multiple sources of support in terms of documentation for grants. So having a strong comprehensive plan that can help us as a backup in terms of documentation for those grants that we apply for is very beneficial as well. We have secured a significant portion of the funding for this project through the federal government in the form of surface transportation dollars that are doled out through NDOT and through the Northwestern Indiana Regional Planning Commission. So the total contract cost is $350,000. This is over the course of 2 fiscal years. We've secured $150,000 from the federal government through transportation funds, and the remaining, the balance of the contract amount would be covered by 2 fiscal years of funds received from the Redevelopment Commission, in addition to the balance of the funds the city has available in its strategic planning fund, and commitments that have been made by the Urban Enterprise Association. So the budget for this is covered, and you have the document itself with the scope attached, and then a fee justification, which is documentation that's required by INDOT for this type of contract with consultants. In addition to that, with me today, I'm happy to bring up Cynthia Bowen and also Cheryl Sharp. Cynthia Bowen is the principal in charge of this project with Rundell Ernstberger Associates, which is the lead consultant, and Cheryl Sharp is with Lockmiller Associates, which is the main sub-consultant, I think we can put it that way, which is they're going to be handling primarily the transportation, but some of the other elements as well. So I want to introduce Cynthia and Cheryl, and I don't know if you want to say anything.
Welcome, ladies.
Hello, thank you for having us. We're very excited to be working with you on this project and being able to set a vision, help you set your vision for the future, and address all of your needs in your community, whether it be economic development, housing, transportation, quality of life, and how you grow in the future. And I think our team is well equipped to do that. So we're very excited to get started with you and figure out that plan and how you move forward with that.
So question, I don't know if Craig, we have a housing charrette, we have the heart of LaPorte plan. How will that differ? Or, I mean, we know truck traffic is an issue on Lincoln Way. We're looking at options as well. What will this report provide that?
So this report it'll synthesize the previous work that's been done, which is often common with comprehensive plans. It doesn't try to necessarily replace that work, but it enhances that work. Sometimes a number of years have passed since those documents have been completed, and sometimes it's an opportunity to update some of those things. In addition, with regard to specific issues like the truck traffic issue, it allows us to delve deeper into the issue. In this case, we're going to be doing a significant amount of traffic modeling that will take a look at the overall traffic flow within the city and how that's affected by the various routes that we have, whether it's state routes or local routes. And then put together scenarios and more detailed information. This, I think, this will dig deeper into the transportation element than most comprehensive plans do because of the importance of transportation issues in our city. We have needed road connections that we need to take a look at, especially on the north side of the city, north of the railroad tracks. The truck route issues. It'll take a look at and reinforce the north-south corridor. It'll take a look at other issues of transportation as well throughout.
One-way streets, reviewing road diets, one-way streets.
Yep, definitely take a look at road cross-sections when we have opportunities for better traffic flow. Yes.
And when will this be completed, the expectation?
Roughly 18 months time frame. So once we get started, right after the first of the year, about 18 months. And so the project spans 2 fiscal years, like we said.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, Mr. Kosher.
So, Craig, what was the amount that cut from the grant?
150,000.
150?
And we anticipate that increasing. Hopefully that will reduce the amount of the local match required by the city. So we're going above and beyond what's required for local match on this project, but we're hoping to reduce that with additional funds that become available through NERC. So.
And outside of that, for the 2 fiscal year window to pay for this, then do you have the budget?
We have commitments from the Redevelopment Commission, the Urban Enterprise Association, and we also have funds available from the it's called the Strategic Planning Fund, I believe, as well. So, yes.
Okay, because my concern is it's a lot. Well, first of all, is it 350? That's I see in here it's a maximum. Is that
up to 350?
I mean, is it kind of a maximum that we expect to get pretty darn close to it, or is this?
Yeah, we do.
Okay,
yeah.
So because it is a lot of money, right? We've had a lot of studies, so just
It is.
I'm wondering how this really. I understand how it gets us more detailed into what the issues are and updates them, right, compared to studies that maybe have been done a few years back. But how does this where is the added value in terms of helping us actually execute on something to make a difference? That's what as opposed to kind of paralysis by
So we've shown you
analysis,
that
right?
we've been executing on all the plans we put in place. It's our intention for this to be the same. We anticipate applying for a couple of significant grants that require significant documentation. So we're talking about things like the money necessary to be able to do the north-south corridor and some of the truck route improvements, and you have to have documents like this in place. The documents that we have available to us are not sufficient to be able to meet those needs. And like I said, one of the biggest and most significant sections of this document is the transportation element, and that's a lot of the cost associated with this project as well. There's an additional cost associated with a lot of the design, the modeling, and things like that associated with this as well. So.
Well, I think you said that this is supposed to take into account all the plans that have been in place or have taken shape, and then we're gonna, help get them all under one umbrella. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Is that the idea? Because
Yes.
you're hitting so many different areas. This isn't just transportation or just housing. We're hitting the whole mass of those, correct? And making them work as best as they can.
And so what this does is it will fill in between those and show the connections of where those points are, how economic development ties in with land use, how quality of life ties in with land use and transportation, and how they all influence one another. And the decisions that you're making in land use and in transportation are going to affect all those other realms of housing, of quality of life, of how you're going to grow in terms of annexation and the land you'll need in economic development and the types of industries that you need to be chasing. So those are how we will tie those in. And then in terms of implementation, beyond what Craig needs for his documentation for grants, we will put a very detailed implementation section together so you know how to implement each step of the housing, of the infrastructure, of the transportation, so you know when to implement it and how to implement it and what steps to take, whether it is a policy, a program, or an actual project. So we will detail those out. And I think these are some of the things that have been missing in these other plans.
In addition to this, I'll also add that one of the other key reasons that communities adopt comprehensive plan and transportation plans like this is that we recently had an audit done of our zoning ordinance from the standpoint of just legal compliance and updates based on state statutes that have been passed over the last several years since the last iteration of our zoning ordinance. And it identified a number of changes that needed to be made from a compliance standpoint, but it also identified the fact that we have some significant areas where we can improve upon our zoning. The Notre Dame study that we completed through the charrette process recently identified the fact that we couldn't rebuild significant portions of our city based on our current standards because they're outdated. They're based on traditional Euclidean zoning that kind of had a suburban kind of focus to it that doesn't serve our city well. So we need to overhaul our zoning as well. That's been identified in a couple of different cases, and the most appropriate way to go about that is to have a comprehensive plan done first, which guides the direction that you want to go with regard to those zoning changes, and then implement the zoning changes after that. So you have a community conversation, input sessions, stakeholder involvement in what you want your city to do, how you want it to evolve and develop in the future, and that paves the way for those changes from a legislative standpoint that or from an ordinance standpoint that the city needs to make those goals happen. So that's and the state says you need to pay reasonable regard to the comprehensive plan when you make changes in land use going forward, whether it's rezonings or transportation related goals and requirements. So this is the first step in the document that reinforces those things going forward as well.
Yeah. Sounds like a living document. How long do these typically, because you said the last time we had one done was in the 1990s.
Ours was in the 1990s. I think
Right.
the last one that we're
2008.
operating under was in 2008, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that's when the document was done.
Yeah.
Which
I
was
think-
more regionalized, though.
It was the countywide.
Countywide
Yeah.
I think what's really interesting is if you look at the document from the 90s, I'd say about 75% or so of the things in that document have taken place in the city too. So I've been at the city a little over 9 years now, and a little over 9 years we've been talking about the need to update our comp plan. There hasn't been a strong appetite to update it, but we've gotten to the point where we've done a lot of planning. We've had a lot of planning initiatives that are a little bit fragmented, and it's time to kind of bring it together, especially on the transportation side. There's been a lot of analysis done for the north-south corridor, but we've just kind of relied on either NDOT or NERC to say, oh yeah, everything's fine within the city, and really isn't going to function for us. So it's very key looking forward. And again, that document from the 90s, I think what I like about it is we've done almost everything. The projects that are going to be in this document likely are the ones that weren't done in the last one. So.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you all. Good luck.
Thank you.
And he sneaks away from department head report as well. Roscoe Hoffman, if you could give us a report, because I keep forgetting you're sitting back there. My apologies.
It's okay, sir. I'm 2 for 2. Yeah. Good morning. Wanted to talk to you about, you should have 3 quotes for cameras that we're looking at. The main reason we're looking at is per a state statute by 2025, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Courtney, but I believe by 2025 we will need to make sure that we're live streaming all of our public meetings that we have here. So what we're looking at is actually the quotes there are 4 cameras to be stationary in our chambers that we have here. If you've seen Mr. Tim, he has to come in and set everything up and then break things down and take it back. These cameras will be stationary here, and we will be able to hide the wires instead of having them sitting on the floor like that. At the same time, these cameras are point tilt zoom, which are, they call them PTZ. We'll be able to actually control the cameras remotely instead of having to stand up and move cameras constantly. It also puts us in a position like our neighbors, Michigan City. I was actually on the phone talking to Michigan City today, and with county, they have stationary cameras set up in their chambers and in their halls already, and that's what they're using when they do their video and their live stream. So I think it's something that we would be also in line with our neighbors. There's also a nice cost savings as well that I think anybody and everybody would enjoy. So.
Motion to approve.
So
Well,
moved.
which one are you, because you gave us 3 of the
you
quotes.
3.
Are you going
Yes,
with
ma'am.
the
I'm
lowest
sorry, it was
one?
all-
Or
okay.
you want to jump the gun, or you want to give all 3?
I thought it was this quote one, my
Oh,
apologies.
no, yeah, so I did give you 3 quotes, and the reason I gave you 3 quotes was to give you 3 range. I could give you more and more, but, so if we have somebody come in and do something that's gonna be over $10,000, maybe $20,000 to do that. If we look at your standard Panasonic, which are your very popular PTZ cameras, you're looking at $3,000 per camera. So what this is, I was looking and doing research online to find the 3 most effective ones that would be able to give us what we need. And these 3 are 3 different, I believe the quote 1 was the one I was honestly looking at.
Okay, which is also happens to be the cheapest.
Yes, it works out for you guys, and that's the one
always
I
our
like too.
favorite.
So do I have a motion for quote, to approve quote 1?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Do you do the installation of these, or are they?
Roscoe will do the installation.
Okay,
No.
gotcha. So when will that happen for us? When are we going to see?
Careful.
Notice I paused. Yeah, so hopefully as soon as the cameras come up, there's going to be an analysis to try and see where we're going to position them, which is the best
Gotcha.
location, because I wanted to not just put the cameras there, but for it to look nice. So
Nice.
wanted to analyze that, so I don't want to give a date yet, but hopefully very soon.
And the
Can't
other
wait.
part of that is he's also evaluating the TVs,
Yes, sir.
It was nice, I think Jerry Jackson led a plan commission meeting that actually had the public could see the documentation, and that's what our goal is. We've had some struggles with the other TV, so I think that's what you're looking at as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Would this help us in any way in terms of if there's ever need to do a Zoom meeting, like occasionally when one of us can't be here, but we really need to make sure to have a quorum, like where we need to pull a Zoom, like does this help us in any way in terms of that?
I think that'd probably still be zoomed through here,
Yes.
but your
Okay.
ability, like, I think the public's ability to see you potentially could be easier.
Yes.
Those would be
Exactly.
two separate systems,
Yes, sir. No, yeah, that's absolutely correct. The Zoom would still be on that screen. This would just be
Everybody in this room.
three cameras that we have right here. So looking at really one camera right there and two cameras here on the side.
Great.
So we do have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Nick Minnick.
I have pay application number 4. Change order 1, we've already approved, and then the other item I had on there was Marquette Alley. Marquette Alley was approved by the redevelopment commission because we're using redevelopment commission funds to pay for that, so don't worry about that today. But I do have pay request number 4 for Truesdale Clear Lake Loop. Pay request is in the amount of $1,608,996.20. This takes us through the beginning of December. There's quite a bit of work in December, but this is a kind of a bulk of the chunk of work you see out there right now. So it is a larger pay application.
So change order 1 is off the table.
Change order 1 is done. I had to look back at my notes and found that we had already done that one specifically.
So do I have a motion for pay request number 4?
Can you say, yeah, do you mind saying that
Yeah,
again?
which-
It's like 1,463,259.27?
No,
No?
$1,608,996.20. So on this form here,
Okay.
Oh.
yeah. So it's the, on the bottom at the end. I have big copies too.
I see it now.
Yeah, I got it.
Found it.
Yeah,
Motion to approve?
thank you.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
What percentage did you say this one was complete? I forget.
We're at about 70%. Possibly a little more, 75.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We're going to keep the equipment quotes tabled.
No.
I think we have
Oh,
it. That was the professional
No.
service
We have it in
agreement.
the packet. Marina?
that was the light source. That's why Tony's here.
So do I have a motion to untable the equipment quotes?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Equipment quotes. Chief Breton.
I'll call Tony up, and he'll explain his light source here.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Tony McClintock, Property and Evidence Technician at the LaPorte Police Department. So I want to present a quote that I received from Horiba Scientific and Specs Forensics for a mini crime scope forensic light source. This device is some necessary technology that can be used by investigators in-house at the police department, and it's completely portable to be taken to crime scenes as well. So what the operator will do with this device is they can look through colored goggles and find bodily fluids, blood stains, gunshot powder residues, fingerprints, any number of things that could be collected and analyzed for evidence. And then the nice thing about this also is that once the light source is utilized, it can be used in conjunction with the cameras with a compatible colored lens, which we do have, and then take pictures of that evidence and present those in court. So this is a huge benefit for investigators, not only in-house, but at crime scenes, and it's also a benefit for the public to be ensured that the police department has the necessary equipment to effectively and thoroughly investigate these crimes.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
So the other business will be Wednesday, January 3rd. Before we wish everybody a Merry Christmas, I would like to remind that we do work with our partners in Michigan City, as Roscoe has said. We do work with LaPorte County, but tomorrow is another day, a different day. We have the bell ringing contest between LaPorte and Michigan City. We are on what they call a winning streak, 3 times every year. I don't think Michigan City has won once. I know they have a belief of a new day to challenge us. Last year, we had to state if they didn't give us a better effort, we weren't going to participate. But this year, we will continue our dominance, and we need the community's help. So anybody that's available to ring the bells tomorrow, it goes to a great cause for the Salvation Army, helping those families in need that may just need a little extra love and support during this time. So let's get out. We take coins, pennies, anything.
What about Bitcoin? Bitcoin?
I don't believe so.
Cougarons?
But yes, we just added $100 to Nick Otis for asking that question. And
But
we'll,
no, we want to be clear. We want them to do well, but we're going to do better, right? Because
Yes.
it all goes to a good.
we're going
all
to pick
for
up their
the-
slack.
That's right.
And we are.
Digital
it's gonna be,
donation.
There might actually be, check the
Can do some
Salvation
digital
Army.
donations, right? Because I think I did that last
QR
year.
codes, maybe?
Yeah.
But we will be at Kroger tomorrow. I believe Kroger is Kroger all day tomorrow, so buckle up, city, we're coming. With that, Merry Christmas to everybody, safe and happy holidays. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.